Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's IN.FORM Coaches webinar. My name is Shandy Hatfield, and I work here at Nature Sunshine's home office. We have a great topic for you today. We are going to talk all about the new IN.FORM meal plan. We are here to answer your questions that you might have about the changes. Like I said, my name is Shandy Hatfield, and I work specifically with the IN.FORM program. I'm really lucky to get to do that every day. So as we go along, make sure you type in any questions or comments that you might have. We've got some great panelists here that I will introduce in just a moment that will help us answer these questions. Also, I just wanted to point out that in your panel, you've got the handouts for today. It's a PDF handout of today's slides that you can print off and take notes on. So just go ahead and take some time to download those slides. So we've got two guests on our webinar today. We have got Dr. Joseph Lamb. He is our Medical Director of our Hughes Center for Research and Innovation and was the principal investigator for our IN.FORM study that we launched at convention that you hopefully have the opportunity to learn more about. And we also have Sarah Eliason, and she is a research scientist here at Nature Sunshine. So welcome, Dr. Lamb and Sarah. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what we're going to do is Dr. Lamb's going to just talk to us a little bit, and then we have a presentation on the meal plan, and then we'll answer questions right there at the end. So Dr. Lamb, I'm going to turn a few moments over to you to tell us a little bit about kind of the thought and science behind that meal plan.
Great. So I hope everyone's having a good day. And the question comes to my mind is, if you are having a good day, how do you know that? And more importantly, how does your body know if you're having a good day? And basically, that's a question that our bodies ask every day as they look kind of at the sum total of what's been going on in the last 24 hours. They kind of ask themselves, was yesterday a good day? Was yesterday a bad day? And if yesterday wasn't such a good day, what am I going to do to take better care of myself today? And through our history as human beings, through the time that, we've lived, not so much 20th century, though for a lot of people it's still this way in the 20th century, but certainly in the centuries that preceded this, when we were tied to agriculture and we were tied to what was going on in our communities and to the weather and the time of year, our bodies basically developed techniques to help us defend ourselves against not having enough shelter, not having enough warmth, not having enough food. And when those days came when there were bad messages, when our vitamin D levels were low because it had been winter for so long, when it was late in the season and the early spring vegetables had gone away and we were now looking instead of at fresh greens and some cruciferous vegetables which come up early and lettuces, we're now looking more at gourd vegetables and fruits and the such like. As all those changes took place, messages were coming to us to do something different with the calorie. And considering that for most of human existence, the challenge was not getting enough calories, messages were very important to us. And if we got the right messages from food, and the reason I spent so much time on this is I'm coming to that concept that you all know of phytonutrients. And the concept that there are nutrients in plants that aren't vitamins, that aren't minerals, that aren't, calorie-providing macronutrients. Instead, they're compounds that provide information, and they provide signals, and they play a role in helping our bodies decide whether yesterday was a good day or whether yesterday was a bad day. And so if it were a bad day yesterday, then today we want to handle that calorie differently than we would if it was a good day. If it's bright and sunny, and our vitamin D levels have been increasing day after day because of sunlight, and we're getting the greens, and we're getting all these good messages. We'll be active, and we'll burn calories, and we'll use them for activity, and we'll use them for exercise, and we'll use them to get moving. But if it's not a good day, we want to either hold on to a calorie or use it to generate some heat. And so we do different things. The real challenge for us living in the 21st century is that the American diet, while for most of us it's not calorie restricted at all, indeed it's an excess of calories, it's coming along with bad messages. You know, we live lives as if it was the winter time in terms of the messages that most of us get from our foods. You know, if we're only eating 1 to 2 vegetables and fruits a day, we're not getting very many phytonutrient messages. If we're not getting quality protein, if we're getting too many bad fats, all of those messages, coupled with not getting activity, not getting sunlight, not getting vitamin D levels up, all these things tell us to hold on to a calorie. So this food plan, which you're going to be hearing about in detail from Shandy in just a moment, has a couple features that make it suited for restoring that balance, allowing the body to feel like it's a good day to burn a calorie. And so that's the characteristics that we put together. So it's a high protein, high phytonutrient food plan. Those are the things that we're emphasizing. We emphasize the protein because it helps us preserve our muscle mass. You know, so when we lose, we'll lose fat. We won't lose muscle if we take in enough protein. Lots of phytonutrients that say it's okay to be in fat-burning mode. Quality fats, because we want to preserve, you know, our cell membranes. We want to have an anti-inflammatory effect from good, healthy fat. You know, we want to maintain, you know, appropriate cholesterol numbers, you know, support for having the right sort of lipids that we get from, you know, omega-9s, for example. You know, all of those messages coming together, coupled with the fact that, as you've noticed, we've cut out refined carbohydrates and the such like, so it becomes a low glycemic impact diet, meaning that it does not drive up insulin levels, it does not drive up blood sugar levels. So that keeps us in the mode of let's burn our carbohydrates that come in, let's burn the fats that come in, let's be in fat burning mode as opposed to let's store. You know, it's interesting, when our insulin levels are high and when they're high consistently, our muscle cells and our liver cells say no to getting more energy in the form of glucose and triglycerides. But the fat cell continues to say, bring it on, and it brings it on until the point that it can't take anymore, and the cell undergoes, you know, an unplanned cell death, kind of a necrotic cell death. And as a consequence, it sends out inflammatory messages that make us more insulin resistant and make us more likely to store fat. So everything that went into planning this diet, high protein, high phytonutrient, good quality fat, low glycemic impact food plan, all of this was designed to send the message that yes, yesterday and today are good days, and we can have favorable changes in our physiology that get us back to where we want to be. So that's the run-in.
So thank you so much, Dr. Lamb. I think that is really important for all of us to understand, is that each piece of this meal plan has been, I mean, it's there for a purpose, and I think how you just explain that to all of us will help us understand why each of the pieces that we'll go on and discuss are there. So thanks so much.
You're very welcome.
And as we go along, if there's any point that you or Sarah want to chime in, that would be completely welcome. So feel free, and then we'll make sure to save plenty of time for questions. So, all right, well, should we jump right on into this? Okay, so we've already kind of, Dr. Lamb did a great job of going over some of these basic things. It's a modified Mediterranean approach. We're choosing foods that are rich in protein and phytonutrient packed. So you'll see in the meal plan how those are all built in. We're continuing to count servings of food, not the calories. So in the previous IN.FORM meal plan, we did the same thing, just counting the number of servings. You'll see, and you may already be familiar with the new plan, but the servings that we're counting are a little bit different, but we're still focusing on those servings. We're going to be consuming 5 meals and snacks daily. So that's broken down as to 3 meals and 2 snacks. And we're limiting our sugars like we previously did, and those refined carbohydrates. And new to this program is grains. We're limiting those as well. So this can be found in your coach's manual, also in the participant manuals. This is how the serving sizes are broken down, and we will go into each one of these at a time. But just a quick overview, you have meal proteins, a total servings 3, snack proteins, 2 servings a day. Vegetables is now up to 6 servings every day. We have a new category on here that is fresh greens, 5 ounces, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like. 1 fruit a day or a legume is optional that can replace a fruit serving. And dairy, 1 serving is also optional. It would replace one of your snack proteins, and we'll go into these a little bit more in detail. And then also a new category, oils and fats. 5 servings, and Dr. Lamb just talked about how important those healthy fats are, and that was something that was missing in our previous version of the meal plan. So we now have that included. And then your water will stay the same, half of your body weight in ounces, up to 100 ounces. So let's dive into what each of these are. So your meal proteins, 3 servings a day. Your serving size is palm size. So that's something that is really visual for you to know that you're eating the correct amount of food. A serving size isn't sometimes what the portion size is that we're often served at restaurants or at home, maybe getting served a 12-ounce steak and thinking that that's a serving of protein. So when you're eating your protein, look at your palm size, and you want to stay within that range. We don't want to overeat there. So that's a good visual. Your snack protein, you're going to have 2 servings per day, and it is half a palm size. So just half as much as the meal protein. A couple things to note is that your 1 dairy serving can replace 1 snack protein. Also, one of your servings of protein, your snack proteins, could also be nuts or seeds. So those are some options that can fit in your snack proteins. I have I have the examples that are listed in your manual in the slides. We're not going to go through all of these, but I wanted you to have that as a resource in a slide format if you'd like. So we'll just pick out a couple of here. So fish and shellfish fit in this area. Wild game, beef, poultry. 2 eggs are considered a palm-sized serving. Also, don't forget your metabolic age support shakes fit in this category. So in the past, in the meal plan, the 2 shakes were in addition to the meal plan. In the new meal plan, they actually are included. So it's 5 total servings of protein, not including your shakes. So just be aware of that. Also, think about your sources of protein. You want to pick organic or wild-caught or grass-fed sources. We want to always look at good, better, best and try to go with those better and best options when at all possible. All right, and then here is your example of nuts and seeds. So almonds, coconut, pumpkin seeds, all of those kind of things fit in this category. And then here's your example of dairy. So milk and yogurt fit in this area. Okay, so vegetables, we've increased this to at least 6 servings a day. So before it was 5 plus, and now we've just said 6 servings, plus we have greens that we'll talk about here in a second. The serving sizes on those, for finely chopped vegetables, it's 1/2 of a cup, and for larger, loosely packed vegetables, it would be 1 cup. And here's some visuals that you can look at as well so that you can start estimating those serving sizes without always having to measure them out. So you can look at your fist. Now, about half of your fist size would be 1/2 cup, and then your entire fist would be 1 cup. So you can start visualizing that. Here are some examples of vegetables that fit in this area. So you'll notice these are more of non-starchy type vegetables. So you've got your asparagus and cauliflower and mushrooms and peppers and all of those type of things fit in this category. Okay, a new category is fresh greens. And like Dr. Lamb emphasized, the phytonutrients are super important. And so getting the vegetables and the greens in is really something you want to stress with your participants to get those in each day. So the fresh greens, how we measure that is actually by weight. So it's 5 ounces per day. So the weight and the volume equivalents, it really depends on how tightly that it's packed. So spinach, about 3 to 4 cups is 5 ounces.
Shandy, can I hop in for a second?
Please do, absolutely.
One of the things I'd like to say about the grains is, whereas all of our other measurements have really been about volume, when we're talking 5 ounces of greens, we're talking weight. And the reason why we've used that 5-ounce measurement, that's the size of that plastic bag that you can buy of pre-washed greens in the food store, and the smaller plastic box size. So it gives you an easy amount to tell someone to have. But that's a weight measurement, not a volume. So that's why you see 5 ounces equals 3 to 4 cups, because that cup is a volume measurement and ounces is a weight measurement.
Okay, yeah, that's really important to point out. And I think because how they are sold by ounces in weight, I think that does make it helpful if you know, I need to do half of this bag today, or it just lets you to visualize that a little bit better. All right, so fresh greens, yep, that's a new category that we really want to emphasize. So here's some examples of different types of greens that fit in this area, and we always still want to encourage people to have variety and to try new things. So this is a great place to give them ideas of how they can do that. Okay, so the fruit and legume categories, it's 1 serving per day, and you choose either fruit or legume, one or the other, so not both. It's you choose. And I'll show you in a second the serving sizes for the fruits, because it depends on the fruit. And the legume serving size is 1/2 of a cup. So here's some examples of fruits. And also you want to notice that first bullet point, it says to avoid all dried fruits and fruit juices. So we want fresh fruits. So avoid those dried fruits and the juice that yeah, you want to stay away from those. So the serving sizes, just a couple of examples, like an apple would be 1 small, berries would be 1/2 a cup, blueberries is 1/4 of a cup, melon 1/2 of a cup, nectarine 1 small. So it depends on the fruit, so just make sure you pay attention to those serving sizes. Okay, and then the legumes example. Yeah. Sure.
I want to jump in for one more second. One of the things that we really have to remember, particularly when we're talking to our patients about veggies, and to a lesser extent about fruit, all of these things that they're buying, you know, in the food store, if they're buying them fresh, none of them have a nutrition facts labeling on them. So people don't really know what they're getting when they eat fruits and vegetables. And while some people may think that they're eating them for the fiber and that's the reason why they should be eating them, many people know nothing about the phytonutrients that we talked about earlier. And they look at vegetables as substitutes, right? They think if they take a multivitamin, they'll get everything that they need. And, they think if, maybe I need the fiber, but I don't need to eat all these because they don't see the benefit of what they're getting. And they look at it as a replacement. They kind of look at it as they don't want me eating bad things, so they want me to eat the vegetables instead of the bad things. It's kind of like, the person who's a smoker who's told to nibble on celery as a substitute for a cigarette. Many people think the same way. I'm nibbling on the celery, so I'm not eating chocolate. And they don't look at it as such a positive piece of their diet. And it's something that I've learned in both of the big weight loss trials that I've done. You have to get people to understand why they want to eat the vegetables. Fruits, they're a little bit more on board with because, A, it's more limited how much they get, number one, and number two, it's the thing in their diet that's going to be sweet. But those veggies really push home that the veggies are helping them do the things that they want to do. So
yeah, I think that's really important to remember, because we're not just eating a lot of vegetables because they're lowering calories and we're trying to offset things. We need the phytonutrients that that we get from vegetables. I mean, it's vital. Our bodies need those. So it's kind of a little bit of a mindset shift for some of our participants to understand that. So thanks so much, Dr. Lamb. Keep on jumping in. I think you're adding a lot of really great stuff. All right, so let's talk about oils and fats. So this also is one of our new categories in the meal plan. It's 5 servings per day, and the serving size also varies. So let's look at some examples of what fits in that area. Avocado. In the past, we may not have been quite sure where to fit avocado in the meal plan. So it now fits in the oils and fats category. 1/8 of a medium avocado is a serving. Ground flaxseed also fits in this area. Olives fit in this category as well. So green or black olives, you can have 8 to 10 of those as a serving size. And then also our oils for cooking and on our salads and our marinades. A serving size is 1 teaspoon. And we've included some examples of some healthy oils that you can choose from. So we have things like coconut oil, flaxseed oil, extra virgin olive oil, so you know what are some healthy fats to choose from. All right, and then beverages. So our water is still going to be extremely important, half our body weight in ounces per day, up to 100 ounces. So just examples there. Water is unlimited, of course. We're not going to say you can only have, of course you want to cap it at 100 ounces, but we're not really having restrictions too much on water or herbal tea. But on coffee and black, green, or white tea, it's a limit of 1 cup per day. So in the past, we've said you want to of course, limit your caffeine intake, but now we have just an exact requirement there. So,
Shandy, one more point. I'm sure some people are going to notice that alcohol is not there. And, there's lots of talks about the health benefits of a glass of wine. Dr. Tripp, with all the work that he and I have done on hops in the past, would tell you that, there's benefits to having hops and beer and the such like. But the reason why we're really very negative upon alcohol in this program is alcohol kicks you out of fat burning mode. Even 1 serving of alcohol will kick you out of fat burning mode. So all the good work that you put in to get yourself into fat burning mode, being really attentive for 2 or 3 days to the dietary program, when you suddenly kick it up and you suddenly add in, a couple days worth of, like 1 evening's worth even of drinking alcohol, you're going to kick yourself back out of fat burning mode for maybe 24 to 48 hours. So you lose all that hard work, and you don't want to lose that.
Thanks so much, Dr. Lamb, for bringing that point up, because that wasn't listed here, and I think it is important to realize the effect that that can have on our program. I've heard actually from a lot of coaches that that's a big way that people have sabotaged their success is over the weekends and having something to drink. So thanks for emphasizing that. All right, and then so let's just talk a little bit about the spices and ways that you can flavor your foods, all those add-on things that I know that some people haven't been quite clear on how to handle. So of course, all fresh and dry herbs, those you can put as many as you would like, and spices. And I think that's a fun way to add some more variety to what you're eating, is to mix it up with different spices and things like that. Also mustard, horseradish, lemon and lime juice, salsa vinegars, soy sauce. Of course, you'd want to probably pick one that's MSG free, and fish sauce. Those ones are fun to use. You want to look, though, on your vinegar, sauces, and dressings that there's not added sweeteners or added sugars into that. Sometimes they hide in those, I've noticed. If you just turn that label around, look for those added sugars. We really want to refrain from added sweeteners as much as possible, and we can use stevia in limited amounts. So that's some ways that you can add some variety there to your food. Okay, and then I also wanted to make sure that everybody was clear on that, on the supplement program that also goes along with the meal plan. So your 2 metabolic age support shakes every day, and those count as your servings of protein. And then at breakfast, you're going to be having an IN.FORM berberine and a probiotic. You'll actually have one of each of those at each meal, and then your cardio kit with your dinner. All right. So also, I really wanted to draw some attention to some of the study results, specifically, and Dr. Lamb, feel free to jump in if there's anything you want to add, but we had 2 groups in the study. We had those that were just doing the meal plan alone, and then we also had the group that was doing the IN.FORM supplements and the meal plan. And the results were pretty amazing. So, and I think this is a great thing, of course, to share with your participants and let them know that with the products, they have a much greater chance at success. And so let me just pull up some of these statistics. 56% more weight loss, 65% more fat loss, 125% greater reduction in the systolic blood pressure, and 62% greater reduction in the diastolic blood pressure, 66% greater reduction in triglycerides, 129% greater reduction in cholesterol, and 80% greater reduction in the LDL bad cholesterol. So I think it's important, to know that the meal plan, of course, is going to provide some great results. It's a fantastic meal plan. But adding those supplements on top of it just really increases your results so much more than just that meal plan by itself. Anything that you want to add, Dr. Lamb, to that?
I do. One of the things, one of the things that is so powerful about adding in the supplements is they are all designed, from the probiotic to affect the microbiome, from the antioxidants that are in the Cardiox LDL. All of these have been directly selected in order to change that kind of global message of, I can burn a calorie today. I'm in a good place. Life is good. That's what your body feels when it takes the supplement. And, when people work hard with their diet, they're sending a lot of the messages, but this gives them that safety net when they're not being so good. And, one of the things that you find, the shakes, the IN.FORM shakes become a really wonderful piece, because we have really narrowly defined concepts of what breakfast is in this country. And people start getting really like, I don't know what to eat for breakfast. I can't have toast. I can't have grits. I can't have home fries. I can't have, and the concept of, maybe having salmon or chicken or something different besides eggs, and then having veggies in the morning, having sauteed spinach or avocado, all those concepts are really foreign to people. And a lot of people are racing to get out the door. So having that shake adds a lot of convenience that makes it a lot easier for people to be highly successful. So not only is there the convenience factor that makes it easier when people aren't able to do the diet like they'd like to, but most importantly, it makes sure that you're sending all the right messages.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that's a good thing to add there, because the shakes do often really just make it a lot more convenient to be able to stick with things. I know that definitely helps for me, especially in that morning when you're a little bit rushed to get out the door, and to be able to grab something that you know is what your body's going to need, that protein, first thing in the morning, I think is really helpful. It's been really helpful for me. All right, so this is also taken out of your coaches and participant manual. This just basically shows how you could break up those different servings. And on the next slide, I've also got a sample meal plan to show you. Because I think having those sample meal plans in your coach's manual and in the participant manual make it easier for someone to visualize how they're going to fit all of these things in one day. Because I know one of the comments that I've gotten from a few people is, oh my goodness, that just seems like a lot of food. How am I going to eat all of that in one day? And you spread it out throughout, and the shakes are there to help support it. But you are definitely eating plenty of food with all of the protein and the phytonutrients that you're going to need. So also a couple of additional things to remember. We want to focus on choosing whole foods and stay away from those pre-processed foods. We've always taught in IN.FORM to shop the perimeter and avoid a lot of those inside aisles where the pre-processed food is located. We also want to remind you, and you probably all are very aware of this, but it does require a lot of planning and preparation. I really recommend that you take a look even from the beginning. Make sure that you get familiar with Module 6. It's where we go over the whole concept of planning and preparing and purchasing healthy foods, and share a few of those tips with your participants from the beginning, because this is a meal plan that you do need to prepare for and that you need to plan. You're not just going to kind of end up eating all of these areas without thinking about it ahead of time. So make sure you're planning. Also, really emphasize those veggies. I feel like sometimes that's an area that some of your participants may struggle in, or even sometimes ourselves. It's really important that we do get all of those servings in, for sure. Also, we want to break it up. I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar that it's broken up into 3 meals and 2 snacks. What it allows us to do is to be eating more frequently, so that we're keeping those blood sugar levels more level and stable. Did you have something you want to add, Dr. Lamb?
No, I think
sorry, I thought
you were good for the moment.
Okay, great. Also, we want to remember to get some protein at breakfast. I think we've always talked about that with our previous meal plan, of the importance of starting our day with protein to help jumpstart things for the day. We also want to remember to practice mindful eating. And if you remember in the module where we talk about that, we share some really great tips on how you can just be more aware, and we're staying away from that mindless eating where we're not really being conscious or really even accountable to what we're putting into our body. And then also the weekly group meetings. This is something you'll want to remind your participants to do, and it really does help them to stay on track, to have that accountability and that support that comes with the group meeting. So that's something really important that we want to remember. All right, so those are the main slides that we had for the meal plan, and now we're going to open it up for questions. So we've had several good ones in, and I've come in, and I've got Sarah here and Dr. Lamb ready to answer those. So let's start with, okay.
Well, can I make a quick comment, Shandy, before we take the first question?
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the most common things that you will find during the course of doing a study in a food plan like this is people are going to say they're bored. You know, when it starts getting to be the third and fourth week and they've gotten some mastery and some of their food cravings have gone away, and they're not really craving the sweet any longer, because that's one of the beauties of this diet. Within about 2 weeks, because you've dropped the glycemic load and you've dropped your insulin levels, cravings are going to go away to a great extent. But people are going to start saying they're bored. So that part that Shandy went through very nicely about, you know, using your spice rack becomes really, really important. Like when people are broiling chicken and like pre-preparing for the week, suggest to them that they don't spice all the chicken in exactly the same way. You know, they could do like 2 with a Cajun spice. They could do 2 with, you know, kind of a Southwestern themed spice. They could do 2 with a Mediterranean spice, and they could do 2 with like an Asian, Thai, or Korean, or, you know, Chinese spice, depending what they liked. And then they've got 4 different taste sensations to have, you know, as the starting point for their little snack when they're eating their snack, and when they're, you know, having veggies like in the middle of the day if they've cut up those chicken breasts for the week. Really tell them to be creative with their spice rack. You know, using spices is going to change the way, you know, eggs taste, for example. It's going to be dramatically different how your spinach tastes depending how you spice it. And, you know, if you put some added onions in, absolutely nothing wrong with that. If they use a few extra onions to saute them and toss them in with their spinach to make it so that they get that 5 ounces of greens in, that's just a good thing.
Yeah, I think those are some really great tips, and that is something that that I think is a common issue with participants, is they do get bored. And so I think giving them ideas, like Dr. Lamb just shared, lets them know that, hey, you don't have to do the same thing every day. We can enjoy eating and we can have variety. So I think that's really important. Okay, so we have some really great questions coming in. Let's take a look and just start going through as many of them as we can. So this first one comes from Dan. He is asking, where would chickpea hummus fit, and how much could you have a day? And I think Sarah's got an answer for it.
Yes, I will jump in here. So chickpeas are in the legume category. You can have 1/2 cup a day, so either your legume or your fruit. There's probably some olive oil in your hummus as well, so that might count as one of your oils. But chickpea hummus would be a great choice to use for your legume serving, a great way to make your serving of vegetables more exciting. So hummus definitely can fit into the food plan.
Yeah, awesome.
So in review, it's a legume and 1/2 cup per day.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I think that's a great way, and it helps. I know for me, it helps me get more vegetables in, because then you can dip the vegetables in the hummus and just mixes it up a little bit.
Yes, yes.
Okay, this question comes from Marcia. She asks, can the 5 ounces of greens be cooked, or should they always be eaten raw?
Okay, so they can definitely be cooked. You want to have a variety of raw and cooked, but you can cook your fresh greens and your vegetables. We've talked about variety and wanting to, you know, enjoy what we're eating, so definitely that can play a role there. You can steam them, you can saute them, you can do a lot of different things with your greens. You can throw them into your shake. So really, you don't have to eat them just raw. You're not limited in how you prepare them. So make them fun and exciting.
Great. No, I think that's good to know that we've got some options there. I think my favorite is trying to put as much in my shake as possible, just so I know that I can get all those greens in for the day. All right. Okay, what about purple cauliflower. I actually don't think I've heard of purple cauliflower.
It's fun and delicious, and definitely as part of the food plan. Cauliflower is listed as one of the recommended vegetables, and purple cauliflower would be a great choice for that. There would be some added phytonutrients that you're getting from that purple color. So absolutely, yes, purple cauliflower is a great vegetable choice.
Great. And I think one thing that just to think of is we don't want to overthink everything too much. If it seems like it fits there and it's a healthy choice, it's not pre-processed, we should be okay, right, Sarah?
Absolutely, that's right. We don't want this to be complicated. We want it to be simple. So there are a few basic guidelines to follow, and then you know, use common sense after that. And probably if you're thinking too much about it, you might be thinking too much.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good to know that we do have a little bit of flexibility there. So, all right. So, okay, this is another question from Dan. He said, when somebody gets to the end of their program and to a healthy weight, would they be able to add any alcohol back in, or would you just suggest that they stay away from it?
So Sarah, let me take that one. You know, when you get to the end of the program, you know, hopefully people will have learned different behaviors around food and will have developed different preferences around food. So, you know, there's nothing magical about what we do, which is one of the reasons why we are so thrilled about the curriculum that's been put together, the one that we used in the clinic and the one that Shandy and her team have worked so hard on for those group lessons, because you're modifying behavior. And so, of course, people are going to start reintroducing some of their old behaviors, but you're hopefully going to have them have learned their new behaviors. If someone goes back to drinking as much alcohol as they did before, if someone goes back to eating exactly the way they did before they started the program, then weight is going to come back. But if they've learned to be moderate in their alcohol, you know, and learned to be, you know, also, you know, moderate in their food choices, then you can look at someone and say, well, there is a place for alcohol, or there is a place for an occasional sweet in your diet, or there is a place for this. Yes, you know, alcohol kicks us out of fat burning, but if we've reached our target weight, if we've reached the weight we want to be, and if we're active and we're sending lots of good messages, then having a few negative messages isn't going to change the overall balance. And hopefully with all the behavioral work you'll have done with them about what's good, what's bad, they'll have a whole different way of looking at things. And I particularly wanted to take this because it brings up the question of not only what do we do about alcohol at the end of 13 weeks, but it brings up the question of what do we do in general at the end of 13 weeks. And what I would say, one of the things we have to remember is to assess where each person is individually. If they're making good progress, but we haven't reached our goal, you know, maybe they haven't, you know, maybe they've lost 8% of their body weight. Maybe they've lost 10%, but you still haven't gotten to the goal that you've set for yourself about what would be a healthy weight for them or what's a healthy metabolic age. You haven't gotten there. Well, then you decide whether you keep going with the IN.FORM 1.1 program or whether you switch over to a maintenance phase. And the maintenance program is one, Shandy, that we're working on still, right? We haven't quite launched that yet, but there's a maintenance program that's coming out from a dietary perspective. And why this is important is you want to give people the goals of what to do. But for that person, you know, if they haven't gotten to their goal, if they haven't lost 12 to 15% yet, I'd keep going with the IN.FORM program until they got there. But if you've got someone who's lost 12 to 15% of their total body weight and yet they're not at their goal, you still may want to think about a couple months of maintenance. Because, you know, when I was talking about the body assessing whether yesterday was a good day or yesterday was a bad day, one of the things that becomes really, really important for us to remember is that throughout our history on this planet, we've had to deal with famine more than we've had to deal with feast. And that famine tells us, like, oh my God, kick in all the counter-regulatory mechanisms, kick in all these mechanisms to protect us against losing more weight. So, if we've gotten to be, a BMI of 35, our bodies don't particularly see that as a bad thing. They don't have a defense against a BMI of 35. But if you get a weight loss of 12 to 15%, all of those counter-regulatory mechanisms kick in, and the body suddenly starts going, I knew it. It's taken 42 years, but the famine finally got here, and I've got to do something about it. And during that phase, it becomes very difficult to lose weight, and sometimes being a little bit more gentle in terms of the number of calories coming in, and being a little bit, changing the expectation of how fast we're going to lose weight for a little while as we plateau. We ride out that plateau, maybe with the maintenance phase for a couple of months, and then we say, and the maintenance program is designed not to be necessarily weight neutral. If someone's overweight, needing the maintenance program and still continuing to do the supplements, then they continue to probably lose weight. It just won't be as fast. But at the end of doing that maintenance program for a little bit, you then ask yourself, where am I? What do I do? And where do I go from here? And if you're not at the weight goal, then you can go back to the IN.FORM 1.1 program and run another couple of months. I did a fairly long phone interview for some blog posts that are coming up about the program yesterday, but one of the things that really came up was, why 90 days? And part of the reason for that 90-day piece is because we expect it from, our past experiences and from the work that we've done, that within 90 days, the great majority of people who participated, who kept with the program, would lose 5% of their total body weight. And it's recognized by the FDA that 5% is a meaningful weight to lose and maintain for a year. That's actually the definition of a healthy drug for weight loss, to help people lose 5% of their weight and maintain it for a year if you took the drug. So we wanted to have a program that in 90 days, through healthy lifestyle change, would get people to that 5%. So that's why we picked the 90 days. But if someone only does the program for 30 days, there'll be some benefit. If they do it for 60 days, they'll have some benefit. And you may well start with someone who doesn't need to lose as much weight. Maybe they're not technically obese. Maybe they don't have a BMI of 30. Maybe their BMI is more like 28, and they feel like they're carrying 20 extra pounds and they want to get fit. Or maybe they're getting ready to prepare to do, like, their first half marathon or something, and they want to eat the right diet. This is a great program for kicking that in. And for the person who, likes the program and, once a year wants to revisit it, so they've lost a good portion of their weight, they've brought themselves down, they've reached their target, and then, maybe they creep back up over the course of the holidays or whatever, and they've put on maybe, 5, 10, 15 pounds again that they need to lose. Revisiting the program for a month or two, kind of as spring cleaning or as a New Year's resolution, would be a great thing to do.
Yeah, I think those are some really great things that you shared there, and I know you made mention to a maintenance plan, and yes, we are busy working away on that, so stay tuned for something coming soon on that. So let's just take a couple more questions, and I've got a few announcements, and then if we have any extra time, we will take as many more as we can. So this question comes from Carla. She said, does quinoa, sweet potato, or brown rice fit in this program? Okay, Sarah, I think, got an answer on that one.
So when we look at the different types of foods, you'll see that there's not a grain category. And then when you look at the specific vegetables that are recommended, there are no starchy vegetables. So this is a carbohydrate restricted or carbohydrate omitted food plan. So those grains, even healthy grain choices and the starchy vegetables are omitted from this phase because this is a carbohydrate restricted food plan. So later on in the maintenance food plan that Shandy and Dr. Lamb have talked about, those healthy grains will be incorporated back. But for this portion of the food plan, it is no grains, no starchy vegetables.
No, that's great. Thank you so much. Let's see here. Let's do one other. Okay, this one is just real quick. So the slide did mention 5 meals and snacks, so it's 5 total. So what it means is 3 meals and 2 snacks. So I'll just clarify that. So this one is from Susan. She said, are the shakes made with just water, or can you make them with milk and ice? Do you want to take that one,
So you
Sarah?
can definitely add things to the shakes. It's recommended to. If you add milk, just remember that milk does count as one of your servings of snack protein. So you're fit if that was in the food plan. So you wouldn't want to do milk with every one. But if you did choose to use one of your snack proteins as the milk in your shake, that would be great. And ice, definitely add ice to make it a little more exciting. And then we talked about adding your greens also. Remember that this is just 1 serving of fruit, so if you did add your fruits, just keep in mind what serving size is allowed here. So yes, you can add things to your shakes.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to have some variety there and not get bored, right? We want to avoid that, and so it's good to mix it up. And I know we've got some really great recipes that we've shared out on our blog and on our Facebook page, so if you need ideas, we are always posting new things out there, so feel free to check that out. Okay, so I've got just a couple of slides to run through, just a few announcements about some promotions that we're running, and then, like I said, any other time we'll take a few others. Did you have something you wanted to add, Dr. Lamb?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, awesome. All right, so just a couple of things here. We have a promotion running this month in May, so if you start a group with at least 5 participants and you submit it onto the coaches portal, you'll receive this awesome prize pack that you can use for sampling or whatever you need for your group. And then you also receive 10 of the NSP Power Shakers and 10 of the reusable IN.FORM bags. So that's really a great way to help jumpstart and get some supplies that you might need for your group. So that is if you submit a group between now and June 3rd. And so make sure you take advantage of that. Also just wanted to quickly go over the IN.FORM challenge. This is really something that you should each be utilizing for your participants. It's an ongoing challenge that you can join at any point. What you do is you sign up, you submit your before picture and your before measurements. You go 13 weeks, which matches up perfectly with IN.FORM, and then at the end you submit your after picture and your after results. So we award prizes every quarter, and they're cash prizes, so it's something you really want to take advantage of. So for participants, the first place prize is $1,000 cash, which is awesome. I mean, they could use that to go buy a new wardrobe now that they've had an awesome transformation. But also you as their coach get a $500 cash prize because you helped make that transformation happen. So just make sure you're taking advantage of this and that you're encouraging all of your participants to join. Everybody that participates gets a $25 product credit. And then also, I just wanted to mention that to join, you can have them join by going to naturesunshine.com/challenge, or they can also join by going to their participant portal on the website. So once you add them into your group, they will have their own page where they can track their results, and they also can join the challenge right from that page. We also have a promotion running now through July that we're having some really great prizes that you can earn. We'll just go over this quickly. If you get 3 or more coaches to certify in your downline in your first level this month through July, and you get 2 of them to start a group within 30 days, you'll earn a $100 product credit, plus you'll be able to come to the Leaders Summit events that are happening in September for free. Plus you'll get 150 I-Inspire points. And then if you are able to get 4 or more certified and 3 of them to start, that will go up to a $200 product credit plus the other items that we mentioned, and a 225 I-Inspire points. And then the third level to it is if you get 5 coaches and all 5 of them start, you get $300 in free product. Leader Summit for free plus a $300 travel voucher to leaders and 375 I-Inspire points. And we'll be having some lots of certifications during the summer and some different ways that you can get your people and your downline involved. So stay tuned for that, but we encourage all of you to participate. We do have a little bit more time for questions. But one other thing I just wanted to mention before we wrap up, our webinars, we actually are going to be switching to a little bit different of a schedule. We're still going to hold webinars on Tuesdays at 11, but we're going to switch to twice a month. It will be the first and the third week of the month will be our webinar. So just mark your calendar for that. So our next webinar will actually be on June 7th. Okay, so let's go back to the questions and see if we can answer a few more of those meal plan questions. So, okay, so this question is from Jonna. She is wondering, what about organic freeze-dried foods? Is that something that can be a part of this?
I'll get Dr. Lamb's input there, but I would think yes, because, well, first, we saw that you should avoid dried fruits, but I don't think that freeze-dried would apply there because you're rehydrating it, and it's a good way to preserve things that maybe we can't get fresh. So my take on that would be yes, and you would measure the weight of the rehydrated amount. Dr. Lamb, do you have any insight there?
Yes. It's rehydrate it, see what size it would be, and if it's acceptable on the meal plan as a normal food, then it would be acceptable. So like you can't like hydrate a beef stroganoff and eat the noodles because you wouldn't have been allowed to eat the noodles in the first place anyway. But otherwise, absolutely.
Okay, great. Okay, here's a question from Carla that said, is it typical for participants to feel lethargic the first week of starting the program? Do either of you have some thoughts about that, of why somebody might be feeling a little bit sluggish?
So I wouldn't say it's typical for people to feel lethargic as they start the program. Some people actually feel energized by starting the new program and changing the way they eat and getting rid of some food. But particularly if you've eliminated something that they may be allergic to, or if you've really dropped their calorie intake, or if they were having a ton of caffeine and suddenly they're not having caffeine, then they may have some withdrawal symptoms, and they may well feel lethargic for a few days. But once they really kick into ketosis, and once they start making sure that they get enough protein and eating enough of those vegetables, those feelings will go away and they'll start feeling better.
Okay, no, that's great. And Dorinda commented in that sometimes that she's noticed with her participants that if they've been sugar junkies and they stop eating sugar, sometimes their body dips in energy until they adjust from going off all the sugar. So maybe that could be something to it too.
Yeah, absolutely. That is part of it, because they're used to burning sugar and they're not getting that, and they have to switch into fat burning.
All right, no, great. We've got a lot of questions and we're just about out of time. A couple of things that have been a lot of people have asked that are more of a housekeeping item, but for those of you that listen to all 5 of the recertification webinars, the coach's manual and supplies that will be sent out, we're working on getting that sent out this week, so you should receive those shortly. Also, this webinar is being recorded, and we will get that posted out on our coaches page so that if you want to come back and review, you are definitely welcome to do that. So it is noon right now in Utah anyway, so we've used our hours. We better go ahead and wrap things up for this week. But also I just want to point out that our Facebook group that we have, the IN.FORM Coaches Forum, that you can, if you're not already a part of, you can search for that on Facebook and we'll add you to it. That's a really good spot that people have been posting their questions about the meal plan, and I'm chiming in here and there, and other coaches are as well. So go ahead and take a look at that. So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. It's on June, actually maybe it's 3 weeks from now that I think about it, because we have Memorial Day is the last day of June. I think we have 5 Tuesdays this month. Anyway, so our next webinar will be June 7th at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. And thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you to Sarah and Dr. Lamb. I really appreciate that you took the time to be with us and to add all of your insights to our webinar. And so thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
All right, everybody have a great day, and we will see you on June 7th for our next webinar. Thanks.